Hey everyone, how's it going? So what am I working on now? Well, I got a Honda Accord. I don't remember what year it is. I'll put it down in the description. Probably like a 2008-ish. Anyway, I got to do brakes on it all the way around. But what I want to show you is this. On front rotors, rear rotors, on a lot of vehicles, you have set screws holding them in place. Like these. So a lot of times people take a screwdriver. I might be able to get it, I might not. But they'll take a screwdriver and try to get them off, and they will not come off. They will not come out. What you need is one of these. This is called an impact driver. And what it is you strike this with a hammer, but it has a reverse position and a left position and a right position. Like that's the left position, that's the right position. See that? In this position, what happens is when you smack it with a hammer, it drives in, and there's a very small ramp on the inside of that. So when you strike that in with a hammer, you hit it hard, it'll shock the bit to the left just a little bit. And if you do it this way, it'll shock it to the right just a little bit to tighten it up. You never want to tighten up a screw like that, let me tell you. But yeah, let's get these off of here, and I'll show you how this works. This is a super handy tool. So let me back you up a little bit here. I don't know if the light's going to help at all. All right. So now you hold pressure on it, and you hold pressure turning left too, like you're going to loosen it, and you strike it. And see, it broke it free already. Usually when I go back together, I just screw them in with this and tighten them down by hand. I do not hit it because you don't want to over tighten these things because it makes it a bear getting them off next time. And see that? It shocks it free. So now you're going to go around. Oops. And yep, the back has it too. So same thing. Just like that. All right, and we're going to do all the wheels like that. Now, because I'm on a time crunch, I'm not going to show you doing the front brakes because those are pretty simple, and I've showed that before. It's basically the same as when I did it on my Caravan. But I'm going to show you the rear because the rear is a little bit different. I might not have shown that in the past, but we'll get to that and I'll show you that. All right, so I did the fronts. Now, coming into the rears, just take the caliper off like you normally would. These are 12s. I usually just crack them free like this. If you're using a gear wrench, never use the geared part of the gear wrench because you can break the gear wrench and strip it out. Always use a regular box wrench. I hope you can see what I'm doing here. So now, work the caliper off. And we're just going to leave it to the side like that. When you have it off, check your slide pins. Make sure that they move freely, which this one's a little tight. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to clean these things up and lube them. You have these clips, these retaining clips. You're going to take these out. Okay, so they're out of the way. And then you're going to take the pads out. Okay, so there you can see the pads are nicely worn down. So now you're going to undo the caliper bracket. These are 17s. You can see that. I'm going to whack this with my hand. If it'll come free, it won't come free. I'm just going to have to put some weight into it. Wow, those are tight. There again, never break free with a gear wrench. Or with the geared end of a gear wrench, that is. So it shortens the life out of your tool dramatically. I could probably use a air ratchet or something on this, but I know a lot of you guys do this stuff in your driveway. And I just knocked my light off. I'll get my light and put it in a different spot. Hold one moment, please. Hold one moment, please. Okay. These came out pretty tight the whole way. They got some rust on them. So I'll probably just wire wheel them before putting them back in place. The light's going to be in my way. Move it to there. Okay, so now we can take the caliper bracket bridge off and put everything to the side. So now the rotor comes off, nice and easy. So now what you got to do, let me reset this camera, hang on a second. Now what I want to show you real quick is this. I want to show you the mistake that somebody made. If you look closely, you see where the piston is? See how that plus sign that's in the piston? Now you notice there's a dot right on that triangular puck right there. You see that? Right there, there's like a little dot, like a little round circle. Okay, that's a mistake. The pads have this centering tab, and you see how it's kind of crushed a little bit? Can I get in there? See it? So now what that was doing is that was putting a pressure point on the pad right in that one area. So if you look, the pad's kind of worn funky. Plus the customer's complaining about stopping issues. So see, the new pads have that little nubby right there. So basically, that piston is supposed to be, hold on, is supposed to be in this orientation. So this line, instead of going like 11 to 4 and like 1 to 7 or whatever, so this way it would be at like 12, 6, 9, 3. So, but what you need to do this job is this. You need one of these tools here. This is the kit. This is the actual tool. What this does is it compresses the piston and it turns it at the same time. The only time you have to worry about that is when you have calipers that have the rear parking brake cables as part of the caliper. You see this has the parking brake cable. So what you want to do is you want to find a right size puck that fits that piston, because these have different pins. See this, how far out the pins are on this side, but if you look on this side, they're in close. So you want to find the pins that fit your piston correctly. See that? So now, what I'm going to do is just take this, and if you look, you see the tool, oops, sorry. If you look, the tool actually has these two little indents, because if you have to use this side of this tool, which I do right now, you want those two little notches to fit into those two little notches. Just like that. And then we're going to get this tool to fit in here. Now, to set this tool in place, you start unscrewing the outside of it to get this plate to sit. Once you get that to happen, you have to hold this while you turn this. And usually to do that, let me back you up a little bit. Usually to do this, I'll use an adjustable wrench on this side. if I can even get it on there. And then I'll use a gear wrench. If it'll turn. Sometimes they are difficult to get started, I will say that. And with you guys hanging over my shoulder, it's a little difficult. See if I can put you in a different orientation here. There. Sometimes the initial break free is a little difficult. And sometimes the thread pitch of the tool is different than the thread pitch of the piston. So sometimes you got to rework the tool to make it line up and match up correctly. It just depends on the application. And I have seen one time with one vehicle where the piston was like a fine thread and the coarse thread of the tool made it so that the tool wanted to push the piston in faster than it would allow. So I had to keep backing off on this. Like this one, I just had to keep tightening down on it. Like I said, sometimes it's difficult to try to do this and film at the same time because I'm trying to have you be able to watch me. I apologize. I might have been better off with a different tool, a different cup. That might be my actual issue. Now you want to drive that thing all the way down till it seats, and there it stopped. So now the tool stopped. The tool started binding up on itself. So now, as you see, the piston's not actually in the right orientation just yet. See that? So you want to grab some kind of either a screwdriver or a pair of needle nose pliers. Works a lot of times. Let me grab that. Hang on. Okay, where did my screwdriver go? Oh, where can it be? Found it. Okay, I'm coming back. All right. So a lot of times what I'll do is I'll take needle nose pliers. Whoops. Okay. And I'll just put it inside there and turn it just a little bit, just to get that orientation correct. See it? So now that orientation's perfect, just like that. It's right where you need it to be. It could be off just slightly, but just keep it in mind that you want it in that position. If you inspect the pads and the pads don't have this little nubby piece on it, then it's nothing to worry about. Then it could be in any position. But that's a common thing I see all the time. A lot of people do that, and then it puts undue stress on that one part of the pad. So instead of having flat pressure on the pad, it has pressure on that, and that's what's pushing the pad in. So that can really mess up your pedal, give you a weak soft pedal too. So let me clean up the caliper bracket. There's nothing special with that. Just gonna wire brush it, and I'm gonna clean the slide pins on the wire wheel and then lube everything up. Now all I really do with a caliper bracket, as you can see, I wire wheeled these. Wow, I can't speak. I wire wheeled these so they're nice and clean. But what I'll usually do is just take brake clean and gently put some in the holes there, and then run one of the pins in there. You see it hydraulics the fluid out. I do that to make sure there's no junk caught up in there, because if there's junk caught up in there and this won't move freely, then what I'm going to have to do is I would have to go in there with some kind of a wire, like pipe cleaner type thing, something like that, to get that cleaned out. So now all I'm going to do is I'm going to dry this out with a blowgun. I'm going to add the organic grease that comes with the brake pads. I'm going to add a little bit of that in there. You don't want to put so much in there that you pack it in there and then these things won't be able to bottom out. You hear it? It's bottomed out. I've seen people put so much of the lube in there that the pin will only go in about that far, and then the hydraulics. So you don't have to put that much in there. And if you notice too, these pins, actually only one of them on this one. Like this pin has, am I in this camera view? This pin actually has flats to it. That allows the lube to go past it, but for some reason this one doesn't. Not all of them have it, but okay. Actually, I think this is actually pretty cleaned up right now, or dried up. As you see, I didn't put a whole heck of a lot on there. And they still bottom out. So I'm happy with that. That's good. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just install the end bellows. If they'll go in, I'm going to get a pocket screwdriver. Hold on one second. I have a pocket screwdriver in my headlight because I can't see anything. There we go. What I was having a problem with is, if you could see that lip right there, that lip has to fit inside here. So it didn't want to go to the inside. So basically I got to tuck it in using the little pocket screwdriver. That's all. No big deal. Take the headlight off. And then also, the rubber bellow a lot of times will add resistance to this. As you saw, I kind of had to struggle a little bit to get it in place. Same with this one. And then once it slips past, it'll go. And then also, the bellow has to fit around the pin because there's a groove on the pin. So now this should be all set. Let me add a little bit of lube to this. And all I do is this. And this is enough for both sides. They give you, if the kit comes with a packet of lube, it's usually way more than enough to do everything you need to do. All right, let me get the rotor cleaned up so then we can put this thing back together. All right, let me get you in a different position over here. And actually, let me back you up. Whoops, hold on. That looks pretty good like that, doesn't it? Okay, hang on. So now what you want to do, turn the light on, maybe that'll give a little better light to this situation. Using a clean rag, just clean off your rotor. You want to get any of that shipping oil that's on there off. And now you got to remember, there's going to be screws that go in here to hold this in place. Make sure there's no debris on here. Line up the screw holes so this way you can put the screws back in. If your rotors come with a coated surface, just clean it off with a rag and brake clean. Do not use a whiz wheel to clean the surface off and take that material off. Leave it alone. It's designed to be there. It's designed to wear off with the brake pads. So now, put the rotor screws in. And make sure you're down all the way with these. I can't tell you how many times I've seen issues where somebody forgets to tighten one down and then they put the wheel on. And they'll leave like the one like this, they'll put the wheel on, and it makes the weirdest noises because the torque is not correct because you're bottoming out on this bolt, and it'll make weird knocking noises, all sorts of strangeness. So that's something you want to avoid. Okay, actually, you know what I forgot to do? I forgot to wire wheel the mounting bolts for the caliper brackets. Let me go do that real quick. Alright, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to mount the caliper bracket. I clean those off, as you see. If you don't have a wire wheel, a wire brush that you pick up from Home Depot is fine. It's just going to take you a lot longer to do it. Just try to clean off any debris that's on the threads. And I'm screwing these in quite a bit by hand. Whereas before I had to fight them the whole way with the gear wrench. Okay. Okay. Never tighten with the gear wrench end. And make sure you tighten them to the correct torque spec. The correct torque spec for this one is the German torque spec, Guten tight. So now, we got to install our pads. So you have an inside pad with a clip and an outside pad without a clip. Inside pad has the notch, outside pad does not. What you want is the clip is facing the side where the rotor is going to contact first. So in other words, the rotor is turning this way going forward. So this is the first point of contact. So now, let me just see. Let me get you in here nicely. Sometimes pads don't like to fit either. I've noticed that. There may be a little bit of a buildup. See, these things are actually a little on the tight side. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take a file and file off a little bit of the edge here. You file off a little bit of the edge right around this tower here to make it fit better. So let me do that. All right, so I filed it down a bit. See that on the edge? Whenever I do that, I always put a little bit of grease on it too, just to prevent any possibility of rust building up. And I did that on both pads, inners and outers. It happens sometimes where the pads don't fit exactly right, or what a lot of times happens too is the bridge or bracket gets rust build up on it, and it actually makes the distance between there shorter. But I'm not about to take everything apart just to, try to wire wheel or whatever. It's really not necessary. So now we could put the caliper back on, like so. Oh, wait. I forgot the abutment clips. Or not the abutment clips. The spreader clips, I forgot those. Some pads will have these clips, some won't. And sometimes you'll get a replacement set of pads and they don't have the holes for it. So just keep it in mind, not every pad will be the same. Even saw that from the factory at the Chrysler dealer. Sometimes depending on what you were dealing with, where they actually did away with something for some unknown reason. So now, once everything's done and once everything's assembled and you get inside and pump the brakes, that piston will come straight out. It won't rotate out, it'll come straight out. So, but you want to pump the brakes. You don't want to use the parking brake first. And there is a method to adjusting these brakes so they are basically dead on or pretty darn close to it. And I'll explain that when we're done. So let me tighten this up and then let me do the other side. I'm not going to film that because I just don't have the time. But yeah, let's get this going. All right, so this is a 2008. I don't know if I mentioned that in the beginning. I think I said I wasn't sure what year it was. Now this tool that I have here, it says rear caliper. I'll do that once I can read it when it's in my cabinet. That tool, I think your local parts store has it as a loaner tool. I'm pretty sure they do. If you want one for yourself, I'll put a link in for something from Amazon, because I think that's where I got that. I don't remember, it's been so darn long. So, take this thing for a road test. Now we're gonna get inside, and I wanted to explain something to you also about vehicles like this with the parking brake that attaches to the rear calipers. Okay, anytime you do anything with the brakes, what's the first thing you do when you get in the car? Pump the brake pedal up. I can't emphasize that enough. So I know it's hard to see, but now, a lot of times when you have a car with the brakes like this, you push down on the brake pedal, pump up the brake pedal, you do that many, oops, I guess I had the key in the accessory position too long and ran the battery down. All right, let me charge this thing up so I can road test it. All right, charged it, started it. So now what I was telling you is pump the brake pedal several times, especially after it's running, and yank up on that parking brake too. Leave it in the up position, like that, and pump up the brakes. And do that several times over and over again. This parking brake could probably use an adjustment. It feels like the cables are slightly stretched out. Well, let's see, does it hold the vehicle? Yeah, it's actually skidding the tires. So, it does hold the vehicle back. Probably just needs to be adjusted a little bit. That'd be another video. I guess if he wants me to do it, because it's usually to adjust this, it's usually through the console here. There's an adjustment point inside there. Somebody parked this Xterra in a real bad spot. See right there. Stop when you hear the crunch. Just kidding. Don't want to hit anybody's car. Okay, let me take this thing for a road test, make sure the brakes feel good, and go from there. Because the customer's complaint was the pedal was a little on the spongy side and it didn't feel like it wanted to stop good. And I tell you what, those rear brakes being the way they were, that'll give you a spongy pedal, that's for sure. So if you got a spongy pedal and you don't know why, check that if you have this design brake system. So let me go up the road with this. I will tell you this, the brakes feel nice and tight now. It was kind of spongy before, it was hard to stop, and that was the customer's complaint. And the pedal is right there. This thing stops nicely now. As I was leaving to go on a road test, the customer actually showed up. So they said they're going to bring it back to adjust the parking brake, because I told them it needs a bit of an adjustment. So they're going to do it at another time. So anyway, that's it. Hopefully you got something out of that video. If you have a squishy brake pedal, you know, it's not necessarily air in the lines. It could be one of the caliper pins stuck. It could be one of those pads installed. Not the pad installed wrong, but the piston on that rear caliper in the wrong orientation. Anything's a possibility. So sometimes you got to look and think a little bit. So, all right, well, hopefully you got something out of that video. If you did, hit that like button. If you could, please subscribe. All right, guys, have a great day. Keep wrenching.